Welcome to MANCODE Inc. I'm Josh Carmichael. I'd like to introduce myself and tell you a little bit about me. Well, I didn't come from privilege. I came from school of hard knocks. I grew up on a small town, or in a small town in Kansas. I grew up on a 10-acre ranch, and I grew up with nature. I grew up with animals, and in a very volatile or hostile environment. My father was an abusive alcoholic, a raging alcoholic, as we like to say, a fighter, a tough guy, a non-emotional guy. And then here comes me, this sensitive artist kid who wants to create and draw and sculpt and paint and play and dream, and it was really not allowed. So at 19, I under a lot of stress and anxiety, I took the exam for the Navy, the ASVAB exam. I don't know if it's still called that. I scored a 98, which they basically said, you can do whatever you want. So I joined as an operations specialist, and I ended up becoming an intelligence specialist, where a few years later, at the age of 22, I was locked into a stateroom and interviewed to join the CIA. They came to me. They were grooming me for a while, and I've done whole videos on this, but I noticed that, that was like, people started to acknowledge my intelligence, which I was never even aware of. So, here I am building up my self-esteem and whatnot. Then at 23, I got discovered by Ford Models in New York City. I was on the East Coast in Virginia, so I moved to New York as soon as the day I got out. I had a one-way ticket to New York City with no place to live. So did that, was there for a year, got discovered from a producer from an audition I did in New York to go to California. So I went in January of 1990 and started my career in acting. A few years later, I had won a few awards, some probably still here. That's the military back there, that's the ship I was on. And started accumulating awards and getting praise for my acting skills. But here's the whole thing. After all of this, doing all this, and I realized I became very successful in the entertainment world, but it didn't really fulfill me in that way. I didn't like the business aspect of it as much as I liked just doing the work. But I found that no matter where I was, what set I was on, it started back in the military, probably started in childhood, but wherever I would go, people would tell me their life story. They would share with me their greatest dreams and ideals and their interests. And it happened more and more as I went along. It happened in Hollywood. Now it started happening from people I grew up with and admired. I worked with a lot of celebrities, and they would all come to me, and we'd have moments of downtime in between the sets, and they'd literally be sitting across from me and open up to me, and I'm like, what is this about? So for years I didn't know. So at the age of 26, I started a men's group where it was based on a book by Robert Bly called Iron John. And I encourage everyone, mostly men, it's a great men's book, Initiation into Manhood, as I would like to call it. Joseph Campbell, metaphysical guy, and Robert Bly were definitely big influences on me. But Iron John really touched me in a way, and so we created a men's group around it. I mean, that was the basis, that was the foundation. And then I took it to one step further by basically just allowing men to, permission to share their feelings, to share, to be open about that, and to feel like they're in a safe space. So did that for about 3 years. Started another group, just men and women, co-ed group, about sharing emotions and feelings, and looking people dead in the eye and literally saying, how do you feel today? And then they would repeat back to you, how do I feel? And it's an old Meisner technique from acting, if anybody knows that. But it was really to just get people comfortable with understanding, starting to process, like, what do I feel? Because we all want to avoid the feelings. Cut to a few years later, I started coaching acting. I'd won enough awards, I'd had enough success, I'd done a couple hundred commercials, TV shows, plays, done 6 or 8 plays by that time, and started writing. I wrote the process code. You can get it on Amazon.com. It's done fairly well. Yeah. And then I got certified in coaching, 20 years ago. And then I got recertified about 4 years ago as a life coach, mentor, relationship coach. And as I started coaching people, I noticed that there's one thing, and I'll call you out when you work with me or when we talk about this. And I'm about to launch a new course, which all the links will be in here as well. But we like to lie to ourselves. All of us, we've all done it. And why do we lie to ourselves? Well, could be not understanding, could be fear, could be avoidance, could be past trauma triggers, etc. I think the most common thing is fear of the unknown. So if you don't have the tools or the toolbox to understand your emotions, you're not going to deal with them. So they're still subconscious, right? They're still in your unconscious mind. I think it's Freud said, until you make your subconscious conscious, you'll never truly live. So probably true. I would agree with that. I touch on the psychology in my book, Process Code, about the ego, the id, and the superego. And it's the superego that we don't really ever talk about, but that's the most dangerous one. But getting back to understanding your feelings, that's why I created MANCODE Inc. It's not just for men, it's just a name, it's just a title, it's just my brand. MANCODE Inc. is for men and women. Matter of fact, I have more female clients than I do males. So guys, join the party. This will benefit you just as much or more, because we really go deep into a place where men can feel like men again. They can be strong and not emasculated, where they can choose to find the strength to give women the security to be vulnerable again. Because I can't tell you how many women I've coached, how many women I've talked to, either by chance or by working with them, that the one thing they always say is there are no real men left in the world, and they don't feel safe enough to be vulnerable. And it doesn't mean you have to provide financially for them. It's not the kind of safety they need. They need to feel that you're there for them, that you're listening. So there's a key. There's a course in my 7 steps to understanding, your communication. It covers that. And listening is a big key. So I'm going to leave it there. This will get you kind of initiated into Josh Carmichael and MANCODE Inc. I'd love to work with you. If you'd like to join, the links are here. Go to TikTok at MANCODE Inc. Instagram is MANCODE Inc. Official. That's a good part of me right there. But yeah, Navy veteran, intelligence veteran, CIA, award-winning actor, writer, director, published author, best-selling author, coach, mentor, good friend. And, I hope to work with you, and we establish a relationship to make you better in the future. So yeah, there's more to come. Welcome. Learn the codes. Feel better. I'll talk to you soon.